Hey there, welcome back to Reddit XO, the best channel for Reddit cheating stories. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification for more stories like these. Now, let's get in the video. I suspect my wife F/50 of 20 years is cheating on me M/47 with her ex-husband M/57, and that my friends plus family know. After 19, almost 20 years of marriage, I can honestly say that, apart from the inevitable growing pains that all relationships have, it has been a wonderful, wonderful experience. The children of my wife, 50, Lucy, and myself, 47, who live in a very comfortable situation, are 3, M/15, F/11, and M/8. She comes from money, and we both have stable jobs. For me, it hasn't been difficult or unpleasant, and I still adore her in the same way I did when we first got married 15 years ago. Lucy and I met at the workplace where we both worked at the time. We no longer worked there, and she was still married to her ex-husband, Scott. At the time, he was her second husband. I'm her third, but I've never been married before this. Lucy and I have been together since the beginning of the year. All three of us became friends, and even after their divorce, I kept wonderful relationships with both of them, and they were eventually reunited as friends again. I'm not sure what caused their divorce, since they looked to be in a good relationship, and it seemed to come out of nowhere. She has never mentioned it, and he has never mentioned it, and they have both forgiven one another and rekindled their relationship. This was never a source of anxiety for me. One of my best friends is my ex-girlfriend. By the time they became friends again, Lucy and I, had already been married for a year. Because they were / friends, and I was / am friendly with him as well. He's practically been a fixture in my life for so long that I had no reason to suspect anything. When my brother, 46, Phil, first remarked that they were too close a few years ago, shortly after our child was born, I categorically disputed that she was cheating on me by spending so much time with him. There was just no way that seemed possible, and I don't believe she was thinking about it at the moment. That's most likely why I was so blind for such a lengthy period of time. A friend of mine, my ex-girlfriend, Courtney, paid me a surprise visit a few weeks ago. I hadn't seen her in a long time, though we communicate through Facebook and phone. We ended up going out to eat with her and her husband, John, and Scott came along with us to enjoy the evening. I took Courtney and I out to lunch, after which we returned to the house, and Lucy, Scott, and John all departed to go drinking. They drink, but I don't. It was at that moment when Courtney broke the news to me. According to her, Scott's frequent visits are weird, as is the fact that he is so affectionate with my Lucy. She also said that I seemed to be the fifth wheel rather than Scott. Because of this, things began to fall into place. Since then, I've been wondering whether or not to bring it up again, since I've never caught them, and I don't want to be a worrywart to my wife and children. We have a good relationship, and I don't want to jeopardize it since, as I previously said, I've been happy and she has never told me she isn't. While everything leads to her not just cheating on me but cheating on me for a lengthy period of time, I don't want to accuse her out of hand because it would be unprofessional. My storytelling abilities are limited, yet these are the warning signals. Most of this has been going on for years, but it's just now starting to sink in, and I'm upset that it took so long for anybody, apart from Phil, who is a touch obsessive about this kind of thing, to bring it up. Sorry, but I'm not sure how to include them into the story without seeming like I'm going on a rant or anything like that. Despite the fact that Scott has now remarried, he continues to spend more time at our house than in his own, even staying in our guest bedroom on a few occasions. It's something that other friends of ours do from time to time, due to too much drinking, terrible weather, or whatever, so I never paid attention to it until he started doing it more often. He and his wife, I suppose, are on the verge of divorcing since neither of them ever says anything kind about the other, and the police are called to their house on a regular basis. Since Scott is, despite everything, underweight and socially awkward, I feel she is the one who is more abusive than Scott. My oldest son, Aaron, 15, is quite close to Scott, who has lately been buying him a large number of items that he requests on a regular basis. I used to think of Aaron as a close family friend, but now I'm beginning to wonder if he's more of a blackmailer, because he frequently attempts to persuade his mother and me to buy him things in exchange for good behavior or silence. For example, when I was on a diet, he threatened to tell Lucy that I was sneaking snacks if I didn't buy him things. That's most likely a distinct problem, but it's triggering a red signal at the time of writing. When I've left the house with kids to go to work or do errands and come back, Scott and my wife are alone in the house. This has happened several times to me. Despite the fact that I've never genuinely caught them, as I previously said, he has routinely just been swimming when I arrive home to find them. On reflection, our other mutual friends seem to be rather concerned when we bring up the subject of our marriage or infidelity. The subject has been changed, as would be the case if it grew too close to anything personal. This is especially true when all three of us are in the same room as opposed to when it's just myself or Lucy and I alone in the room. Our maid despises the fact that she has to stay in the house with just Scott and Lucy, something she hasn't done in 3 or 4 years. The previous few years, she didn't seem to be having any problems, but a few years ago, she began inquiring about Lucy's work schedule, and now she comes over whenever my wife isn't home. In the event that it's just my wife and myself, she'll remain, and the two of us get along well, but she won't be there if Scott is there with Lucy and I'm not. Maybe I'm being a bit paranoid by thinking about it, and maybe it's a reach, but it just seems like there's a connection there somewhere. Things to say that aren't necessarily related to the cheating include the following. My wife suffers from alcoholism. She claimed to have gone to rehab before I met her, yet she continued to consume alcohol in excess of her normal consumption after that. During our marriage, I persuaded her to reduce her alcohol use, but I don't think Scott was ever concerned about her drinking habits. Her drinking has returned in recent years, despite the fact that she is still physically and mentally capable. She didn't want children, but I was eager to have a family. In contrast to the first, which was done on purpose, for my own benefit, the other two were unintended. Fortunately, she was able to have her tubes blocked, but our relationship deteriorated as a result of her third pregnancy, and I'm not sure she'll ever forgive me for having 3 children. Despite the fact that she is not very close to our 2 younger children, she has never been abusive toward them. Scott and Lucy, despite the fact that they are both somewhat older than me, have both maintained exceptional physical shape. Her figure hasn't changed much since I met her, and he's still trim, and they both seem much younger than they really are, especially Scott, who hasn't changed much since I met him. On the other hand, I've put on weight and my hair has become thinner, among other things. I'm not going to deny that I'm no longer attractive, and I think that's a contributing factor to the issue. Scott is infertile, therefore, even if this has been going on for a long time, I assume it started after our last child was born, but it might have started before then. The children are all mine, regardless of when they were born. The 2 oldest are pretty similar to me in appearance. It seems that the last one is my wife, but I don't think she has had an affair with anybody other than Scott, if even that. When again, I may be paranoid, so I presume he is mine and haven't been bothered about it until recently. I'm not sure what to do if she's cheating on me, which is why I'm sending this letter to ask for advice. However, I don't want to lose her or end up in a divorce, but I do need to know what's going on, and if anything is going on, what I should do about it. I'm not sure what anybody can do to help me, but I believe I was just looking for some more objective advice than what our friends had given us. Given the fact that Phil and Courtney are both quick to point fingers, it's plausible that nothing is wrong. But now that they brought it up, I'm embarrassed to admit that I was wrong.